This week on Cageside Seats, the podcast, we're talking Tony Khan buying ROH, the future of NXT, and AEW Revolution.
Welcome to Cageside Seats, the podcast. We don't have a good name, but we do have great opinions. I'm your host, Stella Cheeks, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Marcus Benjamin.
What's up, Stella? How you doing? And hi, everybody in podcast listening land.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. We're recording in the middle of the day, schedule snafu, so I have a lot of sleepy afternoon energy.
Right, and where my neck of the woods, the sun is setting, so it's this beautiful little
Yeah, you have a beautiful glow on your
scenery.
face right now.
That's the sun, right? It's just setting right to my left, and it's just like I can see it creeping behind the clouds. It's really cool. It's nice. It's just another sign that spring is coming.
Oh, thank God. We need it. we both live in cold places, so we need
Yeah.
it. So weather aside, now that we've got the banalities out of the way,
Mhm.
how are you feel about wrestling this week?
Wrestling was really dope this week.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Wrestling, not necessarily people who wrestle, but wrestling was really dope this week. And I am looking forward to this weekend.
I'm looking forward to this weekend too. Full disclosure, I did not watch Monday Night Raw because it was my birthday, and I said my birthday gift is I would like to not watch wrestling.
Happy
please.
birthday to Stella. Let's
Thank
all
you.
give it up for Stella.
33, what a useless age. So did I miss anything important on Raw?
As the person who recaps and reviews Raw, I'm going to say no.
Good.
You did not.
I tuned
No,
in
you
on
didn't.
accident for one moment, and I think Dolph Ziggler was wearing a fedora, and I
You
was
did
like,
tune in for that. You mentioned
nope,
that. Yes.
I'm out.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what?
Your exact comment was, no, Jimmy Smith, he is not rocking that fedora.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, follow your instincts. My instinct was, I do not need this on my birthday, and I was correct.
No, I gave that episode a D+, if I believe. So
Ooh.
yeah, I was not a fan. Not a fan. Not ironically, but NXT, much better. Enjoyed
Yeah.
that a whole lot more.
We both have in our notes a lot of NXT, so we'll
Yeah.
be skipping Raw completely. But before we jump into what's living rent free in our head, let's talk about the news and the rumors. Wild week. You know, sometimes TK says, I got a huge announcement, and the huge announcement is, I have an announcement. And sometimes he's like, I got a huge announcement. I just bought ROH.
Don't forget, sometimes it's, we signed Tony Nese.
Oh, how could I forget?
Okay.
Tony Nese.
But yeah, ROH, that's gigantic.
That is wild.
So the rumor was, okay, well, maybe he's going to announce that there's a streaming deal with Warner and they're going to be on HBO Max, which would be huge.
And might still happen. We don't know.
Exactly. And that's where I'm going. This, to me, feels like the precursor to that. If you're going to go to HBO Max, you need more than just
2 years.
AEW's. You need more than 2 years worth of a library. Let's just be honest. They're not going to take that. So to say, well, I have our stuff that we've done since 20 blah, blah, blah. I don't know what years are anymore. And I have all this footage from ROH. That's huge. Like, that is a big W for him.
Yeah, and to say that to like an HBO executive and say, I have all this footage for ROH, which, you know, if you know anything about wrestling, that is a very important company in the history of wrestling. But also, you might not be able to get WWE stars on your network, but I have old matches from a lot of WWE stars, and that is a big flex.
That's huge. And then, of course, there's, to tie in with that, there's rumors that a couple of AEW stars are recording footage for their own reality shows on Warner. Like, so, there's Tony's making moves. We give Tony a lot of crap for being Tony.
Yeah, he's a goofy dude, and
Yes.
he's also a billionaire, and he, we're never going to not give billionaires crap, but he's making moves.
Right. He's a billionaire. Yes. He's a weird guy. Yes. He's a dork, but I'm a dork at times, so whatever.
But he genuinely loves wrestling.
And that's the
difference.
Right. And he's smart. Like, I'm never going to say that Tony's an idiot. He's very smart. He's not always street smart, but he is very, very intelligent.
Hey, he has a black friend or two.
Holy shit. It's funny. Someone asked him about that during, I guess it was during AEW's they did some sort of press conference this week or last week, and someone asked him about AEW's ratings with the black audience, and he's like, oh yeah, we're definitely working on that. And in my head, I was just thinking, he's gonna call his black friend. They're gonna get on that. They're gonna figure that out. I can't wait to see it. But again, props to them. Huge. There was also rumors that WWE wanted to buy ROH several years ago. Oh no, I'm sorry. That Triple H, let's get this correct, wanted WWE to buy ROH years ago, and Vince said, not big enough.
Well, and also Vince was on McAfee's show, and he basically was like, I don't care about the indies anymore. I got duped into the indies, and I'm over it. We're going back to my way of doing things. So
that is a direct diss to Triple H. That is a shot across the big nose bow.
Yeah, but before we move on to Pat McAfee, my last thought with the ROH thing is I also am just excited for the people that are going to come in from ROH. There are people that are in ROH that I'm not a huge fan of, but there are people in ROH that I love. Like, I love Dalton Castle. Like, I want to see Dalton Castle. And as a huge Christopher Daniels fan, I am a huge mark for CD, and so having him come back and to have that match with Daniel Bryan that was historic in ROH, and to recreate that, have an opening banger match, but then to have Daniel Bryan be like, but this isn't ROH.
It was dope.
So then I'm gonna kick you in the face. Also, to me, felt important because I don't want ROH just to be the 8th hour of television for AEW. Like, if they're going to do it, I hope that ROH has such an important identity. So I hope, even though it might be under the AEW TK umbrella, I really hope they figure out something to do with it, that it's still ROH, right? It's still different, whether that's a developmental or it's a different brand entirely with like a different staff, which I'm kind of hoping for, like a ECW type thing, right? Like we're our own thing. We kind of work with this other company. I mean, I know that's like a fraught analogy, but you know where I'm going with this.
It's the way that Vince initially wanted to do WCW, where he was going to buy it, but let it be its own thing. You know, he was going to do essentially what the company they idolized, Disney, is doing with Fox, where they're just like, all right, Fox is Fox. Yes, we own Fox. We own Fox Studios, but we operate them just like we operate any of our other studios that we own.
Right.
Be it Marvel, Pixar,
Star
Lucasfilm.
Wars. I guess Star Wars is owned by Marvel. I don't know. It's all
no Lucasfilm.
ridiculous.
Yeah, Lucasfilm is owned by them. So like we're gonna operate them like that. They're still gonna do their thing, but we just have oversight and we get all the money.
And we get all the money.
Right. That's Mickey Mouse talking. But apparently, obviously, it didn't go that way. And I think if Tony can figure out a way to let ROH run in whatever capacity it is, like you said, be it developmental, be it the same thing that it is, it's just, it's still ROH.
It's just not owned by or broadcast by Sinclair, which for me feels really nice. Like, I haven't watched ROH in a long time for many reasons. That's a big one. So that feels nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So if he can do that, find someone to manage it, because clearly, as we know, Tony's not great when it comes to micromanaging and having his hand in everything and seeing everything. Because let's not forget the Max Caster stuff and the other stuff that just sort of, he's like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. I got to come in and right the ship. Find the right person to run it. Let them do the day-to-day stuff. Let him focus on AEW and merge. Not merge. Let me go to Ghostbusters reference. Cross the streams whenever you can.
Yeah,
let's just do that.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I don't feel like spending too much time on Vince McMahon this week. But some of the stuff he said on McAfee's show was like, A, not shocking because it's Vince McMahon, right? And he's heartless. But B, it is also shocking sometimes to be like, oh, you just said the thing out loud.
Now, as someone who didn't watch it because I didn't want to.
Yeah.
What was some of the and for the listeners who may have missed it, what's just give me a shocking thing he said. We don't have to go through the whole list.
The thing that he said about the indies being like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. Indie wrestlers need not apply. And him kind of basically being like, I don't care about any of the releases that happened. They were dead weight. So this is a business. I'm obviously like paraphrasing and stuff, but I'm pretty sure I'm remembering correctly that he definitely used the word dead weight.
Wow. Which, I mean, I'm not surprised.
Also the biggest thing is that Vince McMahon will be inducting Undertaker into the Hall of Fame, and it won't be Kane. But it's probably because Kane couldn't keep his big fat mouth shut this week.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you know what?
Big red machine mouth. I'm gonna have to pull back on the Kane praise a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking he did that to himself. That's what I'm thinking. That's not that's a Vince move. Looking at someone looking at Twitter and saying, "Hey, Vin Man, guess what Mayor Jacobs just did? Oh, okay, yeah, he's not coming." Yeah.
Just for clarification, I love the Demon Kane, the fictional character. I am fully aware that the mayor of Knoxville are different people.
It's wild that it's the second week in a row where we both have to say, just for clarification, I am a fan of the character that this person plays, not necessarily them for their actions, the real life person. We just want to clarify.
Yes, just to double down on me telling you that I know that wrestling isn't real. But I love it anyways.
I just said this isn't shocking that Vince said those things. Like you said, it's shocking, but it's not shocking. It is interesting that they didn't go the kayfabe route, which is what I assumed that was going to be, which is another reason I didn't watch. I really thought it was going to be him and Pat setting up whatever supposed rumor angle they're going to have.
I mean, that happened too. Like, it was one of those, it's the reality era, right? Like, where it's like, is it real? Is it kayfabe? So, like, really blended all that stuff. Another big thing is he basically said the future of WWE might not involve the McMahon family. So that was like, you know, that's all stuff we've like heard and think about. But hearing it from Vince is like, oh, well, okay.
One can hope. That's all I have to say.
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
And again, yeah, you're right.
The devil you know.
Yeah, we've seen what Nick Khan's vision is.
The devil you know. Speaking of the devil you know.
Good segue.
Free agent Cody Rhodes.
Wow.
Is having a bit of a tough week. Rumor has it. This is alleged. We're in the rumor roundup now.
So, rumor, again, for those who don't know, the rumor. And again, we're clarifying the rumor. We don't want to kick too much dirt on Cody in this segment anyway.
You always say we. I don't want to kick dirt on Cody.
I don't want to kick too much dirt on Cody right now in this segment. I'll save that for later.
I got a dump truck full of dirt. I'm ready to dump on Cody Rhodes in my backyard.
Well, look, truth be told, if this rumor is true, then he deserves all of that dirt. Cody apparently is kind of having some friction with WWE on the contract talks. And he may not be going to WWE after all. In fact, he may be going right back where he started, AEW. Actually, there's two parts to this. My feelings on this, I mean. On one hand, if they are hitting a snag, and if that snag is because Cody's not liking the number, Cody's not liking the role, good for him. Good for him. Know your value, know your worth, understand the power of saying no. On the other hand, this is what happens when you have an inflated self-worth and when you don't understand that you're going from a boss, like I keep saying, to an employee. When you're in charge at a place and you say, I want to go to another place, that other place isn't going to give you everything that you want. They're going to lowball you because they know they can, because it's part of the embarrassment. It's part of the fact that you are going from some place where you were an executive to going to another place where you're just going to be another wrestler, another spoke in the will, as CM Punk once said. And if this is true, it is one, extra fascinating, because we were told, again, rumors, that Cody was already lined up for Mania. That's what we were told.
I mean, we spent like weeks being like, wait, is this how they're bringing Cody in? Oh, wait, is this how they're bringing Cody in? Is this how they're like, they made it seem like they have a capital P plan.
Yeah. And it turns out they don't even have a lowercase p plan. They don't have any letter at all.
They barely even have each other's phone numbers.
Apparently. And it's just funny to me. Like, that's the part that's funny, that I don't know. It's like he buys into his own hype. I don't get it.
It is a full clown car over there in Rhodes or Cody Brandyland. Like, it is clown makeup all day, all night. Like, I'm here for it. It's very entertaining for me. Honestly, I hope it continues like this.
It's extremely entertaining. I'm not going to say it. Like, I said in our office Slack today, the most fascinating real story in wrestling continues to be fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just gets more fascinating by the day.
It's like comparing like him and Vince. Like Vince goes on McAfee's show and is like, I know how to play the game. I know what kind of quote bad press I want to get. I know how to stir the pot. I know how to make headlines. I'm not going to say anything that people don't expect. And it's not like I don't respect this man, but I'm like, all right, this man knows how to play the game sometimes. And then Cody is just like fully delusional in his own head, and he has been like taken over by the tidal wave of his ego, and it is just watching him just like dance through a minefield. Like what is happening?
And my question, and I posed this when we first brought this up, we'll never hear it, but what does Brandy think about this? Like she's ride or die.
Brandy is the one putting on the clown makeup. Like she's in the bathroom being like, can you tilt your chin up so I can swipe the clown white underneath? Oh, yep. Okay. A little bit more rouge on the cheeks. You look good, babe.
Sounds like you're saying she's Lady Macbeth. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, but like Lady Macbeth, who isn't getting a kingdom. It's like reverse Lady Macbeth. It's like, yes, I support all of your decisions in burning our castle to the ground and leaving the king alive.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Like, instead of staging a revolt and usurping to get the throne, let's leave the throne that we have for nothing.
It's like she heard the witch's prophecy and was like, what if we reverse psychology this and we do the opposite of everything that they said? Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not how prophecies work.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, this all benefits liberty. So,
the future of our country.
I mean, and that's the other thing he's going to say. He's going to take some time off. And he'll say, hey, you know what? I took all this time off. I never wanted to leave AEW. AEW is my heart. The fans are my heart. But I really just needed to get away so I could be a dad. That's what that was really about. It's all about liberty, because liberty will save us all, especially in these trying times.
I have no good segue. What's living rent-free in your head this week?
The thing living rent-free in my head this week is most definitely NXT related. And it is not Toxic Attraction. It is not Nikita Lyons, although she is definitely there.
That's a permanent weekly rent-free.
It is.
She's building a house in your brain.
She has her own neighborhood essentially at this point, and everyone else just has to find
She's the
space.
mayor of your brain.
Yeah, it's Carmelo Hayes and Pete Dunne put on a fantastic match.
Mm-hmm.
Carmelo Hayes,
don't miss.
He doesn't. He is building a very, very clean resume in WWE, well, in NXT. And my fear is when he goes to the main roster, whoop, all gone. Doesn't matter. That's my fear.
Yeah. I mean, that's always the fear, right? With anybody. It sometimes feels like if you work in NXT, you don't work on the main roster and vice versa. Obviously, that's not a one-to-one. There are plenty of things that worked in NXT that work on the main roster eventually. It's been, there haven't been that many that have gone like from high success to high success, though there have been a handful. I don't know. There's something about Carmelo Hayes to me, though, that's like, I feel like he's really smart and knows how to work people like politically backstage in a way that doesn't diminish him, but also like he knows how to play the game. And I feel like he knows his worth without like sacrificing himself. This is pure conjecture, right? This is just the vibe I get from him. And like the things that like we've heard Shawn Michaels say and stuff, right? Like Carmelo Hayes is so good on the mic, so good in the ring. He backs it up. He's such a young talent too. Does he come from the indies? What was his deal on the indies?
I don't even know. I can look it up real quick.
I don't know a lot about him, but he feels, regardless, like a WWE talent in the best way, not in the way that we usually say it. In a denigrative way. I don't know. There's something about him that I feel like he can make it. He has a very Sasha Banks vibe to me where like she's good at advocating for herself and always keeping her name in the conversation even when she's not in the main event. Do you know what I mean? And like when she went from the highest highs of NXT to the main roster, it took a little while, right? She was in Team Bad, which, like, don't get me wrong, I love Team Bad. I'm very excited about the Naomi Sasha team up, even if it is kind of random. Like, I love those two wrestlers a lot. I'm excited about that. But it wasn't like immediate, right? Not everybody was watching NXT at that time. And this was the people that were like, oh my God, it's, you know, Sasha and Charlotte and Becky, this is a big deal. But it took a while for a lot of them to find their place. And Sasha really, I feel like, knows how to keep her name in the conversation. Like, even the stuff she does on Twitter, how she like ats Vince McMahon and stuff. Like, I think she's really smart. And I think that Carmelo Hayes, to me, gives me that vibe too, where I'm not totally worried about him, because he feels like one of those generational talents to me.
And I think your point about the politics makes sense when, as you mentioned, Shawn Michaels. He is clearly Shawn Michaels' pet project.
Yeah.
And much like another NXT wrestler was, who we shall not mention, and who was also Velveteen Dream, was also Shawn's pet project.
Yeah, but see, Velveteen Dream could have gone somewhere had he not outed himself as like a super creep. And like, you know, he self-sabotaged.
Yes.
Like he's the worst.
And I don't see Melo having that issue. You know, again, knock on wood.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows these days? Who knows, man? He might be an alien. I don't know. It's just really great seeing him be the guy where every week I know if Melo's wrestling, all right, this is going to be dope. Like, I don't have any questions. I just know.
He can go with everybody. Pete Dunne and Trevor Lee are both incredible wrestlers, but they have very different styles. And Carmelo Hayes said, yeah, I can do this.
Yep. And you know, it's funny. I wrote that in my recap that in kayfabe, a weakness of his is he tries to wrestle everyone's style when he wrestles them.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, that's really cool that he can do whatever. He can wrestle Pete Dunne. I mean, he can wrestle Pete the way he wrestles. You know, the way he wrestles. He can wrestle anyone on that roster, their style, their cadence, and he can match them blow for blow. And it's just really, it's unique because not everyone can handle that. Not everyone can do that, and they definitely can't do it at this level.
I just Googled it because we love a Google. He was at Beyond Wrestling before he got signed to WWE, but he wrestled there for 5 years, which is a long time, but it's not like, you know.
Yeah, he doesn't have the storied indie career that a lot of people in NXT have that we're used to, at least, you know, old NXT. Well, NXT 1.0. He doesn't have that. He, for all intents and purposes, he is a WWE homegrown talent, and they love that. You know, we know that. You know, there's nothing Vince loves more than someone he can say, "You were mine. I created you. I put my stamp on you. You, the only place you really know how to wrestle is here. You know our style." Vince loves that. So yeah. With all that in mind, he would be okay. But it's just that match was everything. That's 2 weeks in a row that NXT's main event elevated the show. And specifically when it comes to him, all of his matches elevate that show for me. And I just think he's that dope.
He's been one of the only consistent bright spots with NXT 2.0. Like NXT, man, I watch every week, and sometimes people show up and I'm like, I don't even remember who this is, because they are a nothing character, right? They aren't doing anything. They're literally just taking up space, and a lot of people are still figuring out their characters and whatever. And NXT 2.0 still has like a long way to go, and especially like the Black and Gold brand had such a capital I identity. But Carmelo Hayes was one of the few standouts that from the beginning, it was like, he'll be fine. He's literally making sure that this ship doesn't sink while everybody else is figuring out their BS.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's the Carmelo verse.
Yeah.
He's doing his own thing in the Carmelo verse while everyone else is, you know, figuring it out. And I think it's a testament to him and to the people that he's wrestled. Pete Dunne, Roderick Strong.
Some of the best wrestlers in WWE, period.
Right, exactly. Like
Pete Dunne is a phenomenal wrestler. Roderick Strong
yes.
is, you know, a boring personality, but a phenomenal wrestler.
Yes, and it's a testament to them that they are. I mean, even Melo, Melo comes from the black and gold NXT.
Mm-hmm.
So his best matches are with these people that essentially are from that era. The Cameron Grimes match wasn't bad at all either, but it was a different flavor than Roddy and Pete, and you can tell that, and you can tell he stepped his game up because it was them. I just love the dude. Like, he's quickly becoming my favorite wrestler, just very quickly.
And I mean, we didn't totally get into it. Carmelo is a tweener, I guess. Like, I guess you could say he's a heel. He feels like a tweener to me.
Mm-hmm.
He is good at cutting, quote, mean promos or like bad guy promos or like whatever, cutting promos that are effective and that are smart and that they don't even walk a line. They don't feel offensive. Like, he's so good at it that he doesn't have to resort to a lot of like petty offensive promo talk that a lot of people do. Like, we dunked on Dan Lambert a lot.
I was just about to say, shout out to Dan Lambert.
Jericho does it too. Even though Jericho's historically an incredible promo, he relies on old school mentalities like that too. God, you said his name, Max Caster, right?
Yep.
He gets in trouble all the time, and it feels like gets in trouble on purpose because he's like, that's my character, that's how I keep my name out there, whatever. But a lot of times it's just like, if you have to keep your name in the news by doing something stupid all the time and saying something stupid, like, are you actually good? And Carmelo keeps his name in the news and cuts really good promos without having to resort to childish tactics. And I think that he's great for that. Also, it was very funny to watch him body Caster on Twitter.
I was going to go there as soon as you mentioned Caster. I was like, speaking of which, and like he said, like, he bodied him on that Bird app.
Yep.
Like, I watch him and I'm like, okay, I get why Sean's in love. I completely get it, because he has that same, I'm not saying they're the same, no, but he has that same edge that Sean had, in like 95, 94, 96, like, well, not 96, but 94, 95, when he was a bad guy, where he was really that tweener, who just, was like a rebel persona, and the same thing he had in 97. Like, he has that without the drugs. So with all the problems, he has that. And I get why Sean's just like, yep, I want that guy. He reminds me of me. He's just dope. So that's what's living rent free in my head until Sunday, I'm sure. Yeah. What about you? What's living rent free in your head?
I can't believe I'm going to talk about it, but it's making me laugh a lot. Everything surrounding the control your narrative.
Yes. CYN. Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Ethan Carter III, EC3, after he got released from WWE and then he went to ROH for a little bit. I don't know. The timeline of his slope into insanity, I guess, is he started cutting all of these like promos and videos and being like really gritty and I'm going to control my narrative. That was his whole tagline. And then he started getting other people who were getting released into his like circle of madness. He's basically a cult leader at this point. Let's be real. Where he's like, you got released. Like, it's time for you to control your narrative. Like, take back, your image or whatever. And like EC3, it's not like EC3 got released for doing something gross or saying something dumb. Like, he got released because Vince viewed him as dead weight, but he has surrounded himself with a bunch of people
who are also dead weight,
or now under the, it was only a matter of time before the control your narrative, which could have a positive. Like, if we think about how like Ali does it, where he would like cut videos and stuff and be like, this is how I'm actually feeling. Here's a promo that I'm cutting and it feels like really genuine and it really got him over with the fans. That is a positive way of like control your narrative. A negative way of control your narrative is to be like, I was canceled because I said a bunch of terrible things and I maybe sexually assaulted some people, but hey, I'm controlling my narrative now. And that is slowly what his new wrestling promotion that totally, definitely, maybe, perhaps has a TV deal. And he's quote, signing people like Austin Aries, who should never open his mouth or wrestle again. And then what is he going by? He used to go.
It's Aaron Shane, right? Or was he
Okay, Braun Strowman in
Titan?
WWE.
Is he Titan? There you go.
Titan.
Yes.
Well, that man just lost his mind on the internet and started attacking people, and when people were talking about control your narrative or questioning some of the things that were happening, and he was just like, "Oh, you stupid marks! Oh, I'm gonna get paid. Doesn't matter what you say."
And someone asked him, "So how's your mental app going?" Great. Thanks
I
for
was
asking.
just looking it up. The exact tweet is, I think he tweeted at Fightful or something and was like, "Look at all you crybabies running your suckholes. You'll still watch and we'll still get paid. Hashtag you're welcome, Marks." And then somebody tweeted, "How's the mental health app going?" And he just tweeted, "It's going great. Thank you." It's just absolute insanity. Speaking of a clown car, man, geez, if Cody can't sign AEW, you should go over to flip and control your narrative.
That is a man who wants to control his narrative. That's for sure. That is for sure. I don't know if Brandy would be down with their views, but we'll get to that.
It is. Okay, first of all, it's very funny in a lot of ways. Like, I'm clearly making fun of it. It is upsetting to see some of this stuff happening and to future project and be like, I can see this going in like a whole awful way, especially considering the world we live in and the past, I don't know, 6 years we've had in this country where a lot of toxic things have boiled up to the surface of the skin of
it's almost like we're living in Fight Club.
Yeah, well, EC3 thinks he's in Fight Club fully. But here's the thing, in my estimation, EC3 feels like to me, and I can't wait till somebody like sends this to them and then we get attacked by all of them being like, "Shut your holes, Marks, you're getting us paid," or whatever.
You're getting us paid because you're mentioning us. So how's your day going? It's going fine, thanks.
It's going really good. I had a great therapy session. Thank you so much for asking. Fuck you.
Hashtag fuck you, Marks. All right.
But like, to me, EC3 thinks EC3 in his brain is playing 3-dimensional chess, and he's like moving all the parts, and he's like, yeah, I'm creating this new mold or whatever. But a lot of the people he's bringing along with him feel like people who just got canceled and can't work anywhere else, and that's like a bad look. I mean, I made the joke. I was like, I'm calling it now. First, control your narrative, women's champ, Tessa Blanchard. Like, or hey, maybe Nia Jax. She could join.
Oh, she's definitely on the CYN recruiting list after her week. Lord have mercy. Like I said, felt great about wrestling this week. Not so great about wrestlers this week.
So we're making fun of them, and who knows what's going to happen? Who knows if it will ever even be a wrestling thing. It is a semi-heartbreaking to me because I historically have loved EC3, and so now it's like, oh, I have to completely write you off as a serious competitor. That's fine. I've had to write many people off, like Austin Aries and Tessa Blanchard. But the thing to me that is so confusing is, why do you do the things that you do? Why are you a performer if you hate the people who love what you do?
This is the question I always have about WWE at times.
Yeah, why are you doing? Why do you hate your fan base?
Right? Why do you actively fight with them? Why? Why are you so contentious?
It's not this weird meta thing. People want to like things.
Right. It's not, no one's granted, there are people who hate watch wrestling, yes. But that's a vocal minority. The majority of us want to love what we're watching.
Right. Even we want to love to hate you. We want to love the story. We want to buy in. I hate this idea that the word mark, oh, you're just marks. Yes, that's the point. Don't you want us to be marks? Don't you want us to like things?
But weren't you also a mark since you started liking wrestling? You didn't. No one just told you hey, you know what you should do? What? You should go wrestling. You should go wrestle. What's that? You didn't say what's that. You knew exactly what it was because
unless you were a part of the Diva Search or whatever.
Right. Well, sorry. Yes, but if you're Braun Strowman, you knew what wrestling was. You worked out with Mark Henry. You knew Mark Henry was a wrestler.
Yeah.
You didn't think Mark Henry was just some big, strong dude who just shows up to the gym every now and then. You knew what he did. You knew who he was. Therefore, when Mark Henry's coming to you and saying, hey, bruh, You should get into this thing with me. You said, yeah, you're right. I should, because you know what the deal is, because you're a fan. You too, sir, are a
Right.
mark. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't, it's one thing when somebody in the character or whatever, like a heel says it, whatever, that's fine. But like
Yeah,
to
MJF
really
does it all the time, and it's
right.
fine.
To really believe it is confusing to me. And I'm never going to be one of those people that thinks like, it's a toxic mentality to be like, I'm a fan, so I pay your paycheck, so you got to do whatever I want, and you got to
I
like,
agree.
that's stupid. Like, that is not what I'm saying. That is ridiculous. Like, that's not what I mean. But the people who watch your product and the people who participate, the marks, like, without them, without the audience, then you're just like jumping over ropes onto concrete for no reason. And like, truly, you're insane.
The audience is a huge part of what you do, and you need it's a symbiotic relationship.
Right.
Especially those of us who watch wrestling and are paid to watch wrestling. It is a deeply symbiotic relationship. Do you think we want to sit there and make smart mouth tweets about shows that we don't like? Do you think I like giving out D pluses in my reviews? No. Do you think I want to spend 3 hours being like, what the hell is this? No, it's 3 hours on a Monday night. I want to enjoy myself.
Right. I want to like things. I watch this because I like it.
Right.
I wouldn't spend all the time and effort and whatever if I didn't. And it's just confusing to me, this like narrative,
You control your narrative. Yep.
of dissing your fan base. And I don't get it. And it's confusing. And control your narrative is a mess, and it's going to remain a mess from top to bottom. And frankly, they're going to just be known as the company you go to when you can't get hired anywhere else. That's what's living rent free in my head.
I'll say this for my last thought on this. Wrestlers need to take lessons from musicians. Well, rappers specifically. Rappers don't diss their fans. Do they have problems with some of their fans at times? Yes. Do I understand those problems? Also, yes. But they're always grateful. They don't diss their fans. They don't go on social media and be like, nah, blah, blah, blah. Nah. Some of them do, but not the majority of them. And it's not a constant thing. Just take lessons from people who know what they're doing.
Right.
Like,
and
there are other superstars in the world besides you wrestlers.
And sometimes it's an art form. It's a performance. Sometimes what you do is not going to hit with the fans, is not going to hit with the critics, is not going to hit whatever. Meryl Streep has flop movies. She didn't go, be like, you're all idiots. She just made a different movie. Like, that's fine. Not everybody's going to like everything all the time, but to like go on Twitter and be like, you're a dumbass, you pay my bills. Like, that is not... Nobody, I mean, first of all, the thing doesn't even exist, so nobody's even watching it. And then like you're making it so nobody's going to want to watch it, and so your bills are going to remain unpaid, my friend.
Yeah, I was saying, he all that talk he's doing. I wonder how Raquel's going to feel about all that. That's all I'm saying.
Well, she's happy in NXT. Moving on in the Dusty Cup. Okay, before we move on to our lightning round, the question that I have from one of our listeners was emailed into us. It's from one of our listeners, Sydney. It's, what match are you most looking forward to this weekend at AEW Revolution?
I am most looking forward to MJF and CM Punk. Not an original answer here, because I'm pretty sure a lot of the world is looking forward to MJF and CM Punk.
I mean, let's just get out of the way. The whole card looks pretty stacked top to bottom.
It's ridiculous.
There's not a match that I'm looking at that I'm like, I could live without that. Like even ones that I'm not super hype about, but like the Sting match, like there's still going to be things in it that are going to be good. The problem is there's so many of the matches, so it's going to be really, really long. And so it's going to be hard for them to, even with everything being potentially great, keep our focus and keep our energy and stuff. But the card is stacked. So like even picking a favorite or a most look forward to is seemingly impossible. So like no original answers here because they all look dope. But like MJF and Punk, that's got to be one of the biggest ones.
The story is fantastic. It's just from start to finish. We talked about maybe it's going too long, the potential for it to go too long, but
it
then
ebbed and flowed.
Exactly. But every time they hit a peak, I'm like, oh, no, I like this. I like this a lot. The most recent episode of Dynamite, for anyone who missed it, where Punk comes out and he says, hey, man, I got to know. And it felt like Phillip Brooks talking, not CM Punk. And he acknowledged his past. He acknowledged his demons. He acknowledged the fact that MJF is the guy that CM Punk or Phillip Brooks used to be. And he said that every morning he wakes up and asks himself, are you the bad guy? And now he says he wakes up every morning and asks himself, are you the good guy? And he doesn't know if he's the good guy, but he's trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really key moment to show that Punk is not only aware of his past, but he's aware enough of it to know he needs to change some things about himself to make for a better future. And he felt like making peace with MJF, even before their match. He wasn't trying to cancel their match, but making peace with MJF would in some way bring him peace for all the things he's done in the past. And for MJF to come out and, not say anything, which is weird for him, and to be very solemn and to get emotional and shake Punk's hand, and then that handshake turns to a hug, and he just hugged
very
Punk,
intense hug. And Punk did that thing where his hands were out, and he was like, "Do I hug back? Like, what do I do?" And then he just was like, "You know what? Leap of faith. I'm going in for the hug."
He went in, and then MJF went in. MJF kicked Punk square in the balls,
right for the dick.
Right, and then he ripped his shirt off to reveal the T-shirt of the photo of him and Punk way back in the day. I thought it was brilliant. And then even mimicking one of Punk's old promos at the end of it, where he said, we talked about being the devil and, or I'm going to kill you, old man, or whatever he said. I'm messing up the verbiage, but that was genius. Just this entire thing of MJF being the one to either push Punk to the next level, because we've all acknowledged in kayfabe, Punk's been a step off in AEW.
I mean, ring rust is a real thing.
Yes. He's been a step off. And that's part of MJF's whole thing is that, dude, you are not the guy you used to be. And I'm tired of seeing this guy. I want the old guy, but I don't even think the old guy exists anymore. So you should just be out. I'm going to get rid of you. That's the plan. And if MJF is the guy to put Punk back in the light he needs to be, or MJF is the guy to get Punk to say, you know what? I got to do some dastardly things now. I got to be a bad guy. Like I have to actually answer that question. Maybe I'm fooling myself by trying to be the good guy. Maybe I really am the bad guy. It can go in so many directions. It can go in so many configurations, regardless of the outcome of the match. It's just a gripping story about two people who are linked directly, indirectly for decades now, and now they get to fight.
In a dog collar match.
In a dog collar match. And that last image on Dynamite of Punk bloody.
Punk said, we don't need Cody Rhodes. I can bleed too.
It's funny when that happened? I was like, this is what happened when Cody's not on the show.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like, oh, I can bleed now? Oh, okay, cool. Because Hangman did it first.
My moment.
Right. Hangman did it first. And now Punk was like, it's my turn to bleed. And just him with the dog collar and the blood dripping down his face. The match was already sold. That sold the match.
Yeah, MJF being like, "I'm the devil."
Yes,
you idiot.
Right, I'm the devil. I'm the devil, you old man. It's like brilliant. Just all of it. It's just, and this is the stuff when we dump on WWE, it's because there's not enough storylines like this. Not saying blood, but enough storylines that are adult storylines where it's complex and it's not just simple
elevated wrestling.
Oh God! I've
been watching a lot of horror films lately. I watched Scream 5 last night.
We're gonna have when we do, we're gonna have a conversation about elevated horror one day and how I despise that term so much. Anyway, it's we want to see storylines that kind of work for us as adults. And while also the kids can get into it too. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Roman is a great example of that. But not leave WWE alone. This is the match I'm excited for, Revolution. I'm pretty sure everyone else is. Cannot wait to see it. What about you?
It's so hard. my gut instinct is to say Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. I've talked about that match a lot. I've talked about how I really like all of the Mercedes and Jamie stuff happening around it, the history. And we just talked about the follow-up of like Punk and MJF, the breadth of it. That is very exciting. That's going to be my preview on CageSideSeats.com this weekend. If you want to read my thoughts written out, I'll be writing about that match because I obviously called dibs. But while I'm super excited about that, I think the match I'm actually most excited about is Moxley versus Danielson. There's just my childlike shippy feelings aside. I just think it is super interesting and layered, and Mox comes back, looks incredible. We're all like, yes, what is the next chapter for John Moxley gonna be? Whatever. He delivers like these incredible promos, and then we get this tease of Brian for several weeks, like, oh, are they gonna fight? Are they gonna fight? Are they gonna fight? Ooh, this tease, this silent tease, right? And so we're getting agitated with Moxley to be like, what is this guy doing? Why does he keep looking at me? Why does he keep following me around? Because like they're friends and have a history a little bit, but it's not like they ever were that intrinsically involved in WWE or anything, right? Like they don't have this. It's not like taking a big storyline from a different company and trying to transpose it somewhere else.
Like if they did Punk and Moxley.
Right. Or like they did in NXT where they were like, let's take Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole and try and recreate all their magic in ROH in NXT. And like, it didn't really work that much. Like their one-on-one matches were not as good when they like teamed up because, or in NXT, Bayley versus Sasha, incredible. It has never hit the same way on the main roster. Like it just doesn't. Sometimes you can't recreate it. So it's not like they're trying to do that. They're building a whole new thing. Yeah, they kind of have a shared history, but they don't really. So they're building this whole new thing. And that's really exciting. And then the like added wrinkle of like, no, you're misconstruing the stairs. The stairs are not, I want to fight you. The stairs are, we should team up because we're the best people here and we should be running this place. That's a swerve. That was so good. And Moxley is an iconoclast. He is a counterculture, right? Like that is his whole deal. So for somebody who is, at least in this incarnation, like kind of trying to be establishment and trying to be like, I'm the best, I want to run a type ship. We feel like, for me at least, I was like, oh, Moxley's just going to punch him right in the face and be like, no. But then Moxley walks away and is like, maybe I will join him. And that is like exciting. And then their whole like promo of like, I might join you, but we got to bleed together first. And that is just such like, I love Moxley's like obsession with blood lately. Like obviously that's John Moxley's history. Like you go back and watch some of those CZW matches that are
it's
bananas.
All blood.
It's all blood. Like the blood is in his blood. But I like that he keeps bringing that back. And then Brian agreeing to it, but with like such disdain. And like, no matter who wins in this match, like to me, the point of this match is not who's winning. It's what happens after. Like, exactly. I don't even care who wins. If Brian wins, he can be like, hey, I beat you. Now join my team. Whatever. We shared blood. Theoretically, if Moxley wins, he can be like, hey, we shared blood, let's join a team. But Danielson could maybe be mad because he got beat, whatever. But who knows? I don't even know who's going to win. I don't care who's going to win. I just want to know what happens after. And that's part of the reason I'm really excited, because this doesn't feel like the end. It feels like a really big stepping stone in an already really good story. And I'm just excited about it. And it's Moxley and Brian. Like, it's going to be really good.
Yeah, they don't miss, to quote Mello. They don't at all.
And they have very different styles. Like, they're totally different wrestlers.
And this is the thing Moxley needs for his big match bag. Like, he needs this guy at this time with this story. He didn't need something simple, where it's just, and this isn't to besmirch anyone who has a title, but he didn't need something simple like, oh, I'm going after the TV championship or I'm going after the world title. No, He needed something a little more complex. He needed something.
And he needed something that would keep him away from the titles, right?
Exactly. Because the question, because if he's not wrestling for the title, the question is, well, why? What's big enough to keep him from a title? Oh, well, Daniel Bryan. Bryan Danielson.
Danielson.
Sorry. Either one of them. Bryan Danielson is definitely big enough to keep him from a title. CM Punk could too, but CM Punk's obviously busy. So you have to put him in
and
situations.
CM Punk and Mox have history, right?
And exactly,
to
they have
go
history,
back to like
go back to the Shield thing, where
right.
where in kayfabe, CM Punk bought the Shield in the WWE. CM
Right.
Punk and Paul Heyman.
Even when Moxley came out and helped Punk in that one match, all people could think about is Shield.
Yep,
So
exactly.
even if they were building a whole new storyline, it still has so much ties to a different company where this is so fresh and new.
It's brand new because it didn't happen.
Right.
And if it did happen, it definitely didn't happen like this.
Nope.
It wouldn't be to this level where the quote unquote, well, Brian, he's a tweener, where Brian, the tweener, comes to the face. Like, there's no denying Moxley is a face. He is the face. Where he says, hey man, let's ride or die together. Let's do that. Let's be bad boys for life. And that's such an interesting thing, like, to your point, because I don't see that a lot in wrestling. Normally we see people who are aligned the same. They say, oh, I'm a good guy. You're a good guy. Let's join forces. Mega powers unite. I'm a bad guy. You're a bad guy. Let's join forces. Allied forces unite. Whatever that thing was they did with Rusev and Mac, and who was that? And
they were like, we're not American. Let's be friends.
That thing. Yeah, that whole thing. This is really a tweener coming to the good guy and being like, yo, let's ride. He's not worried about his alignment. He's not worried about whether the fans cheer for him or don't. He doesn't care about any of that shit. He just wants this dude because he thinks you can beat ass just like I beat ass. Let's beat ass together. He recognizes that. And that is so fundamental to Brian's character. And the fact that he's tempted is so fundamental to Moxley's character, not just from a wrestling standpoint, but we know his demons, where he is tempted by things, and it plays on all that. And I'm with you, man. Like, win, lose, draw, whatever. I'm curious about what happens the next Wednesday.
Yep.
That's what I want to know. Where do we go after that? Not even though it's Wednesday. Where do we go once the match is over? Because they can immediately have something to preview what's going to happen on Wednesday.
Because it's exciting either way. If they hate each other afterwards and they still want to fight for different reasons, but what happens if they do end up teaming up? Like, I'm excited. There's so much potential.
Do they go after a tag title? Do they decide, all right, let's team up and get Hangman? Like, what do they do? Or do they start recruiting other people? Do they go to Hangman? Because now Brian's also got history with Hangman, and like, yo, this dude can go. He's pushed me to my limit at least twice.
Do they go after Serena Deeb?
Oh, they should.
They should. But then that would, she's a full heel, so it would be tough. But she's doing a similar thing.
Where she's being like, yo, who wants to step up?
I'm the best.
I'm the best. Let's step up. And I do want to see, we talked about this before, AEW, as stable heavy as it is, does need a stable where there's a powerful ass-kicking woman who aligns herself with the powerful ass-kicking men.
They need a better mixed gender faction that's not whatever the American Top Team or
Varsity Blondes.
Are they even together anymore? She's off being cool with the iPad. She doesn't need them.
The Pirate Queen. Yeah, you're right. She doesn't need them. Right. So Julia's gone, and then of course you've got why am I forgetting homegirl's name? Anna Jay. There you go. You got Anna Jay in the Dark Order, but that's that's what that is. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a different vibe because Dark Order is a lot of things. Exactly. They're it's hard to define.
They're not a faction, they're a family.
You're right. Fair. Whereas these two with Serena Deeb, or these two with, I mean, look, there's tension in DMD's clique. What if Jamie Hayter is just like, you know what? I'm gonna roll with these two. I love that.
There's so many possibilities, and that's what's exciting.
Yeah.
If you want to know our full thoughts about AEW Revolution, including our predictions, make sure you head over to cagesideseats.com this weekend, where we'll have our staff-wide predictions post up, and then we'll be breaking down each match that's going to appear on the card, written by all the wonderful staff at cagesideseats.com.
Yeah, we're all great. Good stuff.
All right, lightning round before we get out of here.
Keith Lee, Vince McMahon. For those of you who don't know, Keith Lee did a recent interview on Talk Is Jericho, because when you leave WWE for AEW, you gotta go to Talk Is Jericho. It's kind of like the rule. And he talked about the friction and the difference of vision between him and Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And the thing that stuck out to me, for various reasons, is Keith Lee saying that Vince thought Keith sounded too smart for his own good. Now, as a Black man, I immediately felt things when I read that, because there's always this, not always. There is a stigma with us that if we sound a certain way, if we carry ourselves in a certain way, then we don't sound Black enough. We sound white, or we say, oh, you sound too smart. Like there was a thing from years ago. There's a rap group called Little Brother. Used to be 3 people, now it's 2. And around 2005, 2006, Little Brother was, promoting a new album. They were trying to get their video played on BET. BET came to them and said, "You're too smart for our audience." And I remember immediately recoiling at that and being like, "Oh, fuck all of that. No, thank you." And I felt the same way reading this story about Vince and Keith Lee. And that's not to say that Vince did it purposefully, but I think that's the problem. Is there's the lack of awareness to know what you're doing, what you're saying, the lack of consciousness to understand the environment in which you're saying it, to know that if you go to a Black man who is as well spoken and erudite as Keith Lee is, and you tell him you sound a little too smart for your own good, you have to know how that's going to sound. You have to know how that's going to play. You have to know how he's going to feel about that. As a Black man, you have to know how he's going to feel about that. And this is one of the problems I have when people say they don't see color. This right here is the problem. When you say you don't see color, it means you don't acknowledge the struggles that other people go through because of their color. So you end up saying stupid shit like, you sound too smart for your own good. Because if you saw color, and if you actually made yourself aware of the things that a Black person goes through, a brown person goes through, like anyone who's not yourself, then you would kind of be able to hold it down and say, all right, I need to educate myself and understand fully what this experience is to the best of my abilities, and know their struggles and know their plight, especially when these are people who work for you. And this was the problem with Tony Khan coming at Big Swole the way he did. It's understanding the plight of the people who work for you, and know that the words that you say are more than just words. And for Vince to say that, for anyone to say that going forward, is a fucking atrocity, and it just needs to stop. And for that reason alone, I'm glad Keith got the hell out of Dodge. Like, move on, dude. If someone's going to tell you you don't sound right for the audience, you're too intelligent, we don't like the way you talk, fuck them. Get out. Just be done. And again, happy for him. He's on AEW. He's going to be in the Face of the Revolution match this weekend. I hope he shows up and shows the fuck out.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's such a weird thing to say to Keith Lee too. Like, I don't have anything helpful to add other than Vince, unlike TK, clearly has no Black friends.
No, he doesn't. and even if we're just going from a if we take the race part out of it, if we just go from a wrestling point, Keith Lee in NXT and on the Indies worked being this guy.
Well, and that's part of Keith Lee's whole deal. Like the way he delivers promos, where he almost sounds like he's gonna break out into opera, right?
Yes,
where
yes.
his cadence and he's not just like, I'm a big man physically, like I'm a big man in every part of me. I am a big presence. And to be like, oh, you sound too smart. It's like, first of all, don't say that. But second of all, that's literally my whole thing.
Right,
bask in my glory.
Right. That's the whole thing, dude, is that
I'm limitless.
Yes, I'm unapologetic, and my ambition is through the fucking roof. Like, that's what worked. And it once again, it goes back to that thing of Vince always wants to recreate the will when the will doesn't need to be recreated, dude. Just make your life easier. This thing worked. It was working. Just keep doing it.
Just
It's
let it
already
work.
done. Just do what it does. Just your turn. I have nothing more.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Hangman Adam Page for not only being a great champion, but also being an excellent human and a really good Twitter user. Like the world, there are a lot of things happening in the world that are scary and hard and do not need mayors in Tennessee to weigh in on. Like they don't need that. War is bad. And Glenn Jacobs
Mayor Jacobs, yes.
went off on Twitter saying some unnecessary and unhelpful things about the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and Hangman Adam Page just underneath was like, here's some charities, everybody. Like, I know that this is going to go viral for many reasons. And I just want to remind everybody that there are things that you can do instead of just being on Twitter. And here are some charities. And I just, political beliefs aside, I just like that there is a champion that I can like with my whole heart.
Well said. And to the political part, in times like this, in any trying time, it really is, and it's necessary for leaders such as Mayor Jacobs to not play politics with every fucking thing. I mean, I get it. Trust me, I get it. But we don't have to do it with everything. And when there's a war breaking out and people are dying, people are fleeing their homes, their entire way of living is shaken up, maybe that's not the time for you to score political points on Twitter. For to think about your career. Maybe then's the time to actually be a human being. Like
especially
Hangman.
Because you are the mayor of a small town. And like, I'm not saying that Knoxville isn't a great place, but like what you do in your office literally has nothing to do with
Right.
this.
Right. You're right. Like, dude, you're not the president. You are in a small town doing your thing. Congratulations, do your thing. And I'm not besmirching that, but it's just like you said, dude, what are you going to do about it? like,
and Hangman said, here's some things that you can do.
Right, here's some things you can do. And that's what leaders should be doing at a time like this. Find ways to help people rather than divide people, only to then talk about how we're so divided as a people. Like it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I'm going to slow down because I'm going to get into a politics discussion. And
this is a fun wrestling podcast.
Wrestling show. But yes, just props to Hangman for being a good person. I don't know what Hangman's political beliefs are, and like you said, they don't matter. He saw something, he saw a need, he filled that need, while also making a joke about the amount of chair shots that Kane took over this year's career, and maybe he's suffering from CTE, so that's why we had that tweet.
So I have one more thing that I want to talk about. I just want to talk about Lash Legend. I really like Lash Legend. She has not actually done that much in NXT. Her talk show, while it gave her a lot of screen time, was not great, though I thought she was great in it. And she is somebody that I am seeing the writers or the producers of NXT putting in her positions. I feel like they're setting her up to fail a lot, but she is being like, no, I'm actually quite good and I have a lot of potential and I refuse to let you make me fail. And I really like her. And also, as somebody who is a performer who has worn ridiculous eyelashes on my face, that girl wrestled in some insane eyelashes and she tore it up, and props to her. I am very excited for the stuff that she is doing, and I want to see more from her.
Well, she's going to be with Nikita Lyons on
Tuesday.
That's all I'm saying. I can't wait. Yeah,
that is going to be a fun feud. Is it going to be an amazing match? Probably not. They're both still pretty green, but I want to see what they can do together. And they're both green with lots of potential and a lot of talent, and they're both pretty good on the mic. So it has the potential to be really fun.
And it's also a good way to use her talk show rather than let's interview Tony D'Angelo because
Yeah.
Tony D'Angelo wants to be on the show.
Because he kidnapped my producer or something? I don't
Right.
know, convoluted.
It just didn't make any sense. Or let's just have her talk about what's happening at NXT. They don't do that stuff on the main roster. Like the KO show isn't a highlight package of what's happening
Right.
on Raw.
The talk shows on the main roster are part of feuds. So, like,
Yes.
I like, lashing out with Lash Legend if it's for a reason.
Right. And her interviewing Nikita, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm
cool.
excited.
So I'm looking forward to that. So I think Lash, as a former college basketball player, former WNBA player, sky's the limit for her. She just has to, like you said, be in the position where someone's going to give her all the tools to win.
Yeah.
And we talked about this before. I don't think they have the writers or had the writers. I don't know. Maybe they've changed. Who could handle the lashing out thing, which is really like a Wendy Williams style thing, and that's not WWE. Like
Right.
it's just not.
It's a very specific voice that they cannot capture.
Right. So props to her for sticking out. Hope this works out well for both of them. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. All right, so that's it for this week. Obviously, there will be tons of coverage this weekend about AEW Revolution on cagesideseats.com, and then we'll be back next week to break down the pay-per-view and the fallout. And I will have watched Raw, so maybe I'll have thoughts about Raw.
We're all going to watch everything, so we're going to have thoughts about, good Lord, there's so much wrestling in like this next few days.
Buckle up. We're in Mania season. There's a lot of wrestling for the next month.
Well, if you'd like to be on the podcast to talk about any of that wrestling, make sure you send your recorded questions and comments to cagesidesocials@gmail.com, and we might feature you on next week's episode.
If you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at Stella_Cheeks.
And I'm at Abstract Poetica 3 with that E supposed to be.
And of course, you can find more wrestling coverage at cagesideseats.com on Twitter and Instagram.
And if we missed something you desperately want to talk about, and we probably did because it was an abridged show, head over to cagesideseats.com and chat with us in the comments of this episode post.
Until next time, Cagesiders.
The tapes are always rolling.